Okay, so one final update here for today, and then the kids have got Halloween stuff going on, and I gotta switch the teenagers are going off and doing their own thing, but I've got one more young one that it's like, she's turned into a teenager. She's 13. This is kind of like the last, Halloween before it's hanging out with the girls and kind of going off and doing their own thing. And my son who's 17, he's already hanging out with the boys and going to go cause some trouble. So, one final update here, and this is what is popping off in Sudan. Now, this is the big talk of the town going on right now. We've got Sudan militia armed with drones hunts down the black population of Darfur. So, Sudan's civil war is taking a jarring turn in Darfur, where an Arab-led militia is now using state-of-the-art drones and execution squads to dominate the region's black population. That's going to be important because when I was watching this video, I was wondering why the guys had AKs in the air and they were yelling Allahu Akbar. And I'm going, you're in Africa yelling about, and I know that there are Muslim migrants who go over to are in Africa and migrate there as well. But I just thought it was odd in what was supposed to be a black on black nation fight, or at least that's what you think when you hear this, until you get into really the depths of what is actually going on there. And I wanted to talk about this. It's important. So execution squads to dominate the region's black population. Humanitarian groups say the violence has been escalating since the militia seized control of El Fasher, the largest city in the region. Video showed online by the Sudan Doctors Network and other local rights groups appear to show militia members shooting unarmed civilians at point-blank range in the city on the fringes of Sahara in the streets. Dead bodies are scattered alongside burned-out vehicles. At the only functioning hospital, the World Health Organization reported that the rebels killed all 460 people. Getting more news updates. Russia's new super weapon. I'll get to that later. 450 people inside the main ward, including patients, caregivers, and health workers. So first take a note of this. These rebels are just killing civilians. While the lefty losers here in the United States are moaning and complaining about ICE grabbing people and deporting them, what do you think these soldiers in Sudan would do to you? It's saying it right here. They're shooting innocent people in the street. They've already killed 460, and the numbers are growing higher every single day. So, for all these lefty morons who want to whine about what ICE is doing, whine that Trump's a dictator, let's go ahead and bring the Sudanese rebels over here, and you can have that conversation with them. Let's see if they're as understanding as you'd like us to be. Let's see. Okay, rights researchers already are warning that the killings have the potential to surpass the genocide that played out in Rwanda just over 30 years ago. The group behind the violence and the Rapid Support Forces, led by Lieutenant General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, has previously been accused by the U.S. of pursuing a genocide of Darfur's black population. 2 decades ago, his predecessor was involved in the killing of more than 200,000 people in Darfur. This time, the killings are the work of a closely drilled and well-armed rebel force that has already established a parallel government to run Darfur, an expanse of western Sudan roughly the size of Spain. RSF fighters are armed with bomb-carrying Wing Lung 2 in Phi Hong, so they're getting this shit from China, 9.5 drones made in China, and supplied by the United Arab Emirates to help expand its own interests in the region. Diplomats and U.S. officials also say the wealthy Gulf state is also supplying howitzers, heavy machine guns, and mortars, with U.S. intelligence agencies adding that the UAE has been accelerating the flow of material to the RSF in recent months and enabling it to launch French offensives. You remember when Bill Burr went over to go make his bundle of money in Dubai, and when he was doing to do his comedy festival? And he, in the past, he talked about these other scumbags who would go and do shows with blood on their hands. Well, congratulations, you hypocrite piece of shit. You got your $1 million to go tell your fucking jokes. And in the meantime, the UAE and Saudi Arabia are funding the murder of all of these black people in Sudan. We categorically reject any claims of providing any form of support to either warring party since the onset of the civil war, a UAE official said. The latest surge in violence began immediately after the RSF overran an airfield that some isolated regular army troops had turned into a fortified base for their final stand in El Fashir. The consequences are proving catastrophic for the indigenous black population. Kalashnikov-toting fighters, so those are AKs, dressed in, I'm going to show you a video in a second, and the rebels' sand-colored fatigues have been conducting door-to-door searches, picking out non-Arab men and boys before executing them. According to interviews and multiple humanitarian officials, witnesses and residents say militia members swept through the city, raping black women, detaining aid workers, and forcing the last remaining residents to leave. Nathaniel Raymond, executive director of Yale's University Humanitarian Research Lab, said the extremes of violence are only comparable to Rwanda-style killing, referring to the 1994 genocide where nearly 1 million people were killed in a 3-month rampage. In my entire career, I've never seen a level of violence against an area like we are seeing now, Raymond, who has been documenting war crimes across the world for the past 25 years, told an online briefing this week. These people have an air force. No one can hide because they can see them from the air. So innocent people that are living in Sudan are being arbitrarily gunned down by Muslim forces so that they can expand their interests in Africa. I'm going to show you some of the video right here.
In Darfur for these Rapid Support Forces fighters after the Sudanese army fled, losing control of a third of the entire country.
You hear them chanting Allahu Akbar in that video, God is great.
Dead are left sprawling across trenches in the desert after the last major Darfuri town was captured. Celebrating on the left here is a fighter known as Abu Lulu. Back in August, he was supposedly being investigated by his commanders for executing a prisoner. But this week, his comrades filmed him taunting 10 unarmed prisoners, ordering them to praise the RSF's leader before shooting them at point-blank range.
Stop the video before he does it. You know, this argument that we have here about the races arguing with each other. You want to talk about atrocities against black people? Well, this is happening right now in Sudan. So I'm just wondering if all of the lefty losers are going to trade in their Palestinian flags for a Sudanese flag, and if you're going to start marching to free Sudan. From the river to the sea, Sudan will be free. I'm just wondering if we're going to get that too, or it only happens when you've got Palestinian terrorists and you've got the Jews that you hate. You can have whatever criticisms you want for Israel and their government. But it was all on one side. So Palestine could jump the border and murder innocent women and children and Israelis in border towns that border Gaza. And then they'll put on their stupid flag in the United States of America, where it doesn't belong, and they'll march with a Palestinian flag to piss and moan about the Palestinians. So if you don't put a Sudanese flag on right now and start marching and making demands of our government that we go in here, one, we start reopening communications with the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia and get information on are they actually funding all this, and to cut this off immediately, and then take some action and actually help these people out that are suffering. They're unarmed, they're overwhelmed, they're being mowed down, their villages are being destroyed. What action are you going to take?
At a university in El Fasher town, another atrocity. A room is full of the dead and injured. The only prisoner still able to sit up is also shot and killed. Both sides have long been accused of war crimes, but it's now the RSF acting with apparent impunity. Yesterday, reports reached the UN of almost 500 killed in a massacre inside a hospital. Though this evening, the RSF released video of Abu Lulu under arrest, with the RSF's leader claiming that war criminals will be punished.
لكن الآن لجان نظرة الفجر لجنة التحقيق تبدأ فورا في تحقيق ومحاسبة أي جندي أو أي ضابط ارتكب جرم أو تجاوز حدوده.
And hold accountable any officers and soldiers that exceed their limit or violate their rights.
At the UN in New York, that cuts little ice, because inquiries into the ethnic cleansing of non-Arabs in Darfur go back decades.
Can anyone here say that we did not know this was coming? We cannot hear the screams, but as we sit here today, the horror is continuing. Women and girls are being raped, people mutilated and killed, with utter impunity.
Mr. Fletcher says tens of thousands of terrified and starving civilians have fled, adding to what is the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. Some survived by eating animal feed, while others are believed to have died while walking without water through the desert.
Well, joining me now is Dr. Aladdin Nugood, spoke.
Okay, so now, arguably here, I'm ignorant to, and you have to be honest about that when you're doing some of these stories. You can't just give an opinion and then go a one-sided thing and not know what's going on. So admittedly, I don't understand the full situation of what's happening here. I'm looking at one of my other screens and I'm reading up on Sudan and just going over a little bit of the information that it gives me on Britannica about the breakdown of, I'm going to bring it over here for you guys, of what's going on here in Sudan and what may be the breakup of the ethnicity between the two. So my guess is going to be this is blacks migrating into the area, or blacks were originally, because it mentions that the original language and people of the area. So there's a cultural move going between both places here. So further north, you've got Muslim-dominated countries. You've got Libya. You've got Egypt. You've got Niger is split over here. So you're going to have a mix of both, especially as you get closer to the border. This is the information we have here on Sudan, or some of it anyway. A country located in northeastern Africa. The name Sudan derives from the Arabic expression, but it doesn't say the whole thing. The Arabic expression Bilad al-Sudan, land of the blacks, by which medieval Arab choreographers referred to the settled African countries that began at the southern edge of the Sahara for more than a century, so that's suggesting that blacks were there first. For more than a century, Sudan, first as a colonial holding, then as an independent country, included its neighbor South Sudan, home to many sub-Saharan African ethnic groups. Prior to the succession of the South in 2011, Sudan was the largest African country, with an area that represented more than 8% of the African continent and almost 2% of the world's total land area. Sudan's capital, Khartoum, is located roughly in the center of the country at the junction of the Blue Nile and White Nile rivers. It is part of the largest urban area in Sudan and is a center of commerce as well as government. Since ancient times, the Sudan region has been an arena for interaction between the cultural traditions of Africa and those of the Mediterranean world. So you've got both ethnicities meeting and clashing right there over what appears to be use of land, because they're clearing, from what I showed you, they're clearing all the blacks out, and the Muslim forces are taking over. So they are pushing the black population further south here and pushing them down to South Sudan, or at least, to whatever degree they're moving them south, so that their forces are coming down from the north and moving southerly. The country became independent in 1956, numerous changes in government since then. Hold on, let me go back here. Okay, the country became independent in 1956 and has numerous changes in government since then. Successive regimes found it difficult to win general acceptance from the diverse political constituencies. An early conflict arose between those northern leaders who hoped to impose unity upon the nation through the vigorous extension of Islamic law and culture to all parts of the country, and those who opposed this policy. The latter included the majority of Southerners and those Northerners who favored a secular government. From 1955 until 1972, there prevailed a costly and divisive civil war, fought largely in the South but punctuated by violent incidents in the North. The Sudanese have their own forces as well. I said they're all unarmed. That's not completely accurate. There is an opposing force to the RSF. You saw one of their leaders being arrested in the final part of that video. In 1983, the Civil War resumed. It stopped temporarily in 1972, resumed in 1983. By this time, the comparative lack of economic development in the South had become a new source of regional grievance, and northern leaders continuing attempts to Islamicize the Sudanese. A judge rules the Trump administration cannot suspend. Well, I don't know how that's gonna work with a government shutdown, but at any rate, continuing attempts to Islamize the Sudanese legal proven. Jesus Christ. Provide an even more potent source of discord. Attempts to end the civil war included numerous discussions, ceasefires, and agreements, but yielded very little success until 2005, when the Comprehensive Peace Agreement ended the warfare. It also granted Southern Sudanese semi-autonomous status and stipulated that a referendum on independence for the South would be held in 6 years. The result of the vote, held in January 2011, were overwhelmingly in favor of independence, and South Sudan was declared an independent country on July 9th, 2011. So the Sudan was once again embroiled in civil conflict when a rivalry between the heads of the country's military forces and the Rapid Support Forces, that's the Muslim forces, the RSF, paramilitary, led to warfare between the two groups in 2023, endangering civilians and plunging the country into chaos. In December 24, the International Rescue Committee declared the situation to be the largest humanitarian crisis ever recorded. So you'll see, South Sudan has become neutral. They're down here in the dark yellow. Sudan has remained neutral, not with one side or the other having direct control, it seems. And now there is what essentially is a genocide happening there. So again, I have concern for all of the Sudanese people that are being pushed back and wiped out right now. And, you know, the Muslims are trying to take over everywhere. They're in America as well. While everyone's bitching about the Jews, the Arabs are here too, blaring calls to prayer in Michigan that everyone is forced to listen to. And then they tried to get permission in Texas to purchase and build their own area, I forget where it was, that would be purely a Muslim-run area and would also have Sharia law and its own police. So they wanted to be like an Indian reservation, Indian land, casino, places where they can live, except it's Muslim-oriented instead of Indian. So these Muslims are trying to take over all over the place, and we're going, oh, these goddamn Jews, like... maybe we should walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm not saying that you can't have concerns over here, but now you have a genocide happening over here, and I'm just wondering if the left is going to piss and moan about this, or this doesn't matter because they don't focus on blacks and Muslims. So they're just going to stay out of it. I wonder if those fucking hypocrites are going to have anything to say on this issue and make any demands for that issue. But we're going to see what comes about this, and if is the slaughter going to continue? Because it seems like the rebel forces are being overwhelmed by the RSF. So is this going to continue, or are we going to find a way to bring peacekeeping forces in so these people aren't slaughtered and they can actually live their lives? All right, that's everything I have for you today. I'll keep an eye on the Sudan situation as well. Please like, share, support, and subscribe to the show. I appreciate all the new people that are joining in on YouTube, Rumble, and TikTok. Thank you, everyone, and I'll talk to you again soon.